whoever made a Greek Korean page about me. Around where I realized I was a crack slipper. I think that it kind of almost played mind games with me how emotional I was when choosing, and I was dropped the first day. And not everybody can just like drop $10,000 on a fun experience even if they love it. And anyone who is like a 22-year-old calling a house like ugly, like, I'm sorry, but grow up. Hello Sunflowers, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. I'm going to be doing a things they don't tell you about Rush 101, answering all your questions there could be about joining a sorority. I'm really excited for today's video. I posted a Rush vlog back in 2019 where I think a lot of y'all actually came from, which is crazy because now I'm not even in a sorority. I've since dropped and I never actually got initiated. So I was in it for a few weeks and I rushed at University of Mississippi. So it was a pretty crazy experience and I feel like I learned a lot from it. I also am glad I'm coming to do this video a few years later because I've had a lot more time to like mature, think back to like everything that happened, and also just like, I don't know, I feel like a big sister to y'all. That's how I felt when I made that video, and now I feel even more like it. And I know there are a lot of these videos on the internet, but I think I have a unique perspective as someone who rushed in the South and dropped a sorority. I think I could have some things I could say today that could really help a lot of you who are about to rush or about to go through that process feel better, and also just I can literally answer anything because there's no like rules or anybody. I'm not gonna get a hey girly text, take that off your Instagram, take that off your YouTube channel, because your girl's not held to any sorority standard. So I can say what I want to say, which is awesome because I always like to be transparent and real with y'all. But we're gonna get right on into the video. If you are new here, hi, my name is Grace. I now am an upcoming senior at the University of Missouri. I transferred colleges, and yeah, I feel like I had a very unique college experience. So if you want to come along for more of that journey, definitely subscribe. I'd love to have you. I make college productive lifestyle, shopping, chatty content, really whatever you guys want to see. I'm here to make whatever can help y'all. And yes, let's get right on into the video. All right, y'all, so throughout this video I'm going to be looking down at my phone some because I took some notes, and I also have all of y'all's questions that you asked about, all those behind the scene things that aren't always talked about. I want to bring it to the internet today, and I also just have some things I want to start off with to make this video make more sense, and also just some things I learned before the questions, if that makes sense. Okay, something I wanted to start off this video with on a little bit of a light note, because I've seen it trending all over TikTok, is what people have in their rush bags. Because oh my gosh, these iconic queens are having like totes like bigger than my body full of so many items. I totally understand that because it is such like a stressful, crazy time. Having just like everything you own with you could be so comforting. But I'm gonna tell you guys what I think was necessary. I literally carried around a Ziploc bag. I don't remember if you were allowed to have a tote or why I had a Ziploc bag, but just saying, like, no one inside these houses is gonna see the bag you're carrying around because you have to leave it outside. You aren't allowed to bring anything into the sorority houses, so you really don't need to spend a bunch of money on some bag because actually literally no one is going to see it. First of all, an umbrella. I don't remember if it rained, but like Mississippi would always have random downpours, and I feel like most places are probably like that. I kept an umbrella with me the whole time because obviously I didn't want my hair to go up in flames. I don't think you need to like go to the extent of bringing a hair dryer and curler and all this stuff I've seen on TikTok. I think just an umbrella will do. If it's raining, just use that in between your houses and I think you'll be set. Next thing is they give you, at least at my university, they gave me a book with like the names of each house, their colors, their like ethics, I think, were like listed in it, and then you had note-taking space, and they gave you a pen. I just used that to take all of my notes. I didn't bring like a separate fancy notebook or anything. Again, this isn't something that literally anyone's going to be seeing, so I don't think it's something that you really need to put a bunch of money into getting something nice for, and I just used the one that they gave me. I would bring some deodorant and body spray because at least where I went to school in the South, it was super duper hot. But even if it's not hot, you're gonna be really nervous and it's nerve-wracking, and you're really close like quarters to a lot of people, so you don't want to be that stank bug. So I would just have some for sure deodorant and some perfume in your bag. I would also bring slides or like comfy shoes for in between the houses. I 100% used mine. I personally am a girly who never wears heels, so I was wearing them for like prep round, like fancy vibes, and my feet hurt so bad. And on most college campuses, the houses can get really spread out and you're gonna be walking long distances and you have a very short time crunch to do it. Like some days where I had multiple houses back, there was like a very short time period from when I needed to be at this house to this house. There'd be girls like running. You're not gonna wanna do that in heels. So just bring like a comfy pair of shoes. You don't even have to fit them in your bag. You can even just carry them around. I would just do something cheap and easy. So again, if it gets lost, taken, whatever, you don't have to sweat it. I would bring, lastly, something for your breath. I know that some like schools you're not allowed to have gum, I'm pretty sure. So like mints or like a little thing of mouthwash, whatever the case may be. You're gonna be talking really loud because there's so many people inside the houses and people are so close to your face. Again, you don't want to be a stank bug, so if you have that, I think you'll be set. Okay, so I really quick thought it would be helpful, especially if someone's just watching this for funsies, to run through the process of like what the time frames looked like at my school. So first of all, when school first started, I know some schools like Mizzou, where I currently go, they do rush before school, but mine was quite the process. Before school started, we all met at like this giant event where they like told you the basics. You met your recruitment group, you met your recruitment counselor, and you got like basic information. And then like a whole month went by, and like once a week we meet with our recruitment groups. I love my recruitment group. That was one of my most positive experiences from Rush. I met a lot of my friends through that, and it was such a like tight little community that was like very great to lean on during actual Rush week when like emotions are so high and everything's like so insane. So I had like a month of meeting with my recruitment group, and then I'm trying to track my memory. I had this all on vlog footage, so like I went back and made sure I got this all right. But yes, rush groups are literally like, that was worth rushing for me. I love my rush group. So going through the actual rush week, you have day 1, which is house tours, which you wear a t-shirt, and day 2 and day 3 are philanthropy, and I wore a t-shirt to both of those. I wore the same outfit for both of those because you're seeing different houses since it's the same round, so like it doesn't matter. You don't need to buy a bajillion fancy skirts. I also, with my only really advice for the t-shirt days, and this is just off of my experience as being a girl who was like in the swamp of like 1,500 girls or whatever it was rushing, have accessories that stand out, like a statement earring or like funky socks or shoes, something to like just set you apart, just because I think it will be easier for people to like pick you out. There's no like science behind that. I just would recommend it because everyone is going to be like in very similar styles, because if like say at Ole Miss, the things that were trendy, like we all kind of just wore the trendy stuff, so having like a little something to set you apart I think is always great. Day 4 was sisterhood, and day 5 was also sisterhood at my school. I wore nicer clothes for those days, and then day 6 was pref, which I had to wear like a fancy dress, shoes. You're gonna be like dressed to the nines for that. That is where you make like your final decision. And then day 7 is bid day, when you find out what house you actually have. So the day after pref is when you do like, you pick the house that you want, and if they pick you back, you're gonna get that. They don't recommend suicide bidding, and I do want to say that I wouldn't really recommend that either, because I think you don't really know what the house is like until you're actually in it. Rush is like a very kind of, not fake experience, but it's like an interview. Like you're showing your best self, they're showing their best selves. You're not really getting the full feel for it. So I would recommend like putting both whatever your last houses are for pref round, because on bid day and the weeks following, you're gonna find that the house is not gonna be exactly like what it seemed during Rush, because you're not exactly how you seem in an interview either. So instead of like dropping immediately, like I would say give whatever house you get a chance if it's a process that you're really interested in being a part of, because you might end up really loving it, and the other thing is you might end up not loving it, and you can just drop. And at least at Ole Miss, you did not owe dues for like the first 3 weeks. I don't think you owed dues until initiation, so I really got to get a feel for it. I got to go over multiple times a week to have lunch with the girls. I got to go to sisterhood events. I got to kind of get a full taste of the sorority experience before actually putting money down on it and saying this is something I for sure want to do, which I 100% would do that again. I think it made me really certain with my choice to drop. It made me feel comfortable with that, and I never once felt like I was missing out or wished I had been in one, because I got to do it for a few weeks and see if it was a place where like I felt comfortable and that like fit me and my personality and my lifestyle, if that makes sense. I just also wanted to explain bid day a little more, because I remember having a lot of uncertainty about what was to come that day, and I was super nervous. So started the day with going to like the big stage, and you find out what sorority or recruitment counselor's in, because they've had to hide it, all of the rush process. And then you get an envelope, you get the name of the sorority, you run home to it, and then the day from there is kind of crazy. I had the sweetest girl that was like paired with me, because there's somebody who like meets you with like a t-shirt and a sign that has your name on it and makes you feel welcome and everything. And that we went like immediately into the house. We took a bunch of pictures. Also, let me just say a little behind the scenes of that, and it's nothing I'm saying in this video is against a particular house I had. I think this is a common experience across all sororities, just because of it's real life. It's not just a like aesthetic 20-second video. That day is kind of uncomfortable. People are making you feel very loved. I will say the girls that were in the house made me feel so loved and accepted and excited, but it's also so overwhelming. You realize that you just made this like huge choice, and it's a room of people that you don't even know, and they don't even know you, and everyone's like hugging each other and screaming, and it's like very overstimulating. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I went to the house, took all these pictures with literally all these girls I like didn't even know. And then you go to this, whatever your like sorority's after event is. For mine, we went to this like hotel rooftop. They had all decorated. They had like an 80 pie cakes. But yeah, it was like decked out to the nines. It was literally so gorgeous. But again, to get like the aesthetic Instagram pictures and videos, by the end of the day you're at this like huge party and you don't know anybody there, and no one there really knows anyone there either, especially all the like, by that I mean all the girls that just got into it, not the girls that are already into it. At mine, they made us do a very good job of feeling welcome, but you still feel kind of out of place because it's a very aesthetic version of going to like a party with nobody that you know yet, but like everyone's like ah. And at least 80 pie, the rules were like the first rush day was like sober, so it also was not like the movies where you're like, yeah, look at this huge house party, which honestly it was probably good because like I said, it was already a very like crazy overstimulating day. But I literally went home and studied the night. I went out to dinner with some of the girls that rushed me, and I went home and I studied and went to bed and had a test in the morning. Oh, actually I didn't go home. There was like a situation where basically I ended up staying the night at the sorority that I rushed, the day that I rushed it, which I think that's a unique experience. And that was the moment where like I'm most grateful for my sorority for that like week, where I had girls who were very supportive of me. I got to stay at the house, shower there, sleep there, and they were just so sweet and like literally helped me like stay alive when I felt like my life was like crumbling all over the place. There was just a lot of change happening for me at the time. So forever grateful to the girls in my house who helped me through that week and that like shared their room with me and things like that. So especially that specific day, rush day, that was very comforting, and I can't believe I forgot about that. But yeah, it's nothing like insane. I wasn't at this house like screaming. Like I was literally like laying in the girl that I wanted to be my biggest bed studying for a test. So nothing too crazy. Okay, moving into a few things that I wish I knew before I rushed, and then we're going to answer your guys' questions that I got over from my Instagram. So first of all, rankings and what people have to say about the houses does not matter. Focus on where you feel comfortable. This was very transparent the year that I rushed. There's like this website called Great Rank, which I've since found out there's a whole page dedicated to me on there. Sick and twisted. Who did that? But that does exist. Ignore that. Literally, I didn't ever go on and read it until years later when I just like for funsies searched my name to see if there was anything about me on there, and there was. What's a TikTok that's like, shout out to you people who hate me watching my show, you are sick and obsessed. At whoever made a Greek Rank page about me. But I would not recommend checking that stuff. I would not recommend talking to guys about the houses that you're rushing, because there's gonna be a lot of stereotypes and talk that goes on about what's popular, what's cool, what house is like the ugly house. There's literally like the nastiest things said. I would just literally block all of that out, because after rush, nobody cares. Also, we're all adults, so already who cares? And anyone who is like a 22-year-old calling a house like ugly, like I'm sorry, but grow up. And yes, overall, I think I became even more transparent where I was headed with that after my year of rushing. Last year when Bama Rush Talk went huge, they're some of the sweetest girls that I feel so bad that they have like had such a target on their backs because of the things they shared during rush and because of the house they chose. Like literally so many stupid things, and especially because during that week all the comments would be about like what houses they got and like, oh, I thought this person would get a better house. So many different just like nasty comments, which again is like, grow up. Let's become like kind, nice adults. Also, let's put emphasis on the fact that every single sorority, at least at Southern schools, are so massive that like there's going to be all sorts of girls in them. There's going to be kind girls, there's going to be mean girls. That was something that shook me about joining one. Like obviously once you like take a step back, it's like these are real life, real people, but I was shocked to hear all these girls in a house, like some people are talking bad about each other, and it's like obviously that happens, it's girls and it's real life, but not everything about being inside one is like all kindness, sunshine, and rainbows. But like, let's just be kinder. Let's ignore it. When you're going through rush, seriously keep it to yourself and focus on what makes you feel comfortable, what makes you feel happy, and not about the stupid reputations of the houses that's going around during this 1 week. No one even knows what they're talking about, and this stuff gets made up for like the stupidest reasons. So like, focus on you, babe. My next little piece of advice, and something I wish everyone knew during rush, is that it's okay to drop and it's okay to just try it out too. You don't have to be fully certain that you want to join a house. Like I said, I had a few week, I will call it the free trial period, where I got to see if it was for me or not. I could have found out that it was, and also I think if I hadn't got to experience that, I might have always wondered if being in a sorority would have been for me, or if that would have been something that made me happy. And instead, like, I know that it wasn't for me, and I feel really comfortable with the fact that I wasn't in one during college, but I got to experience that firsthand instead of just from like hearing the opinions of others. others. So I definitely always say that I actually do recommend rushing, and I recommend trying it out and seeing if it's for you, because it could be something really great. I know a lot of people that's something really great for, but also it might not be, and that's awesome too. And there's really, like, I think people think it's this huge thing when you drop. I've had so many people reach out to me over the years about dropping a house just because I posted it on the internet. I was very public with the fact that I was dropping my sorority. I think a lot of people get worried that they won't have friends, that people are going to hate them, and people are going to be super mad that they're doing this. And at the end of the day, being in a sorority is super expensive. My excuse that I always say for everyone to use about everything is like, I just can't afford it. Because you're not dragging anyone, you're not talking bad about anyone, which is always important too. Or if you have a truth to speak your truth, queen. But like, literally the easiest excuse ever is just like, it wasn't financially in the cards for me at this time. It's not a big deal. Like, you have to remember that everything in your world's gonna feel like a bigger deal than it really is. Like, everyone's paying attention to themselves. After I dropped, and I even talk about it a ton on the internet, like, nobody cared. Like, literally nobody was mad or upset. I didn't know personally about any rumors that got started, at least. So yeah, it's not that big of a deal. And if you do decide to drop, your world's not gonna end. You're still gonna have friends. You're still gonna find your people, and life's gonna go on. It's not that deep. And the last thing I wanted to touch on, kind of started touching on it, but that it is very expensive to join a sorority. It is totally understandable to not be able to afford it. You shouldn't feel any shame about that. College in itself is already so expensive, but I did want to say, if you're like very dedicated to wanting to do it and you find a house that you love, there are a lot of scholarships available. And also, I know a lot of houses where it's only like $1,000 more to live in-house. As someone who's paid her own rent and not in a sorority, didn't live in a sorority house, I probably spent on my rent last year what it would have costed to be in a sorority and live in house at most sororities at my personal school, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind. It also price range to different schools. At Ole Miss, sororities were much crazy more expensive than the ones that my friends are in and tell me about their costs. I was about to drop a check because just big southern schools like Bama and Ole Miss, it's just like insane. But yes, I definitely would look into like scholarships and talk to someone. There's probably someone at your school you can reach out to if this is a process that you're super dedicated to, but you don't have the means to pay for it. It's very expensive. That was my actual #1 reason for dropping at the end of the day, and it's very understandable. Not everybody can just like drop $10,000 on a fun experience, even if they love it, and I think that we should all like respect that and understand that. Alright, so now I'm actually moving into the things that y'all wanted to know about Rush, answering your questions. I got quite a few of these, so I'm going to try and go through them kind of quick because I know I've been talking a lot, but this video I feel like has like a lot of important things, and I know that Rush is a time where a lot of girls can feel lost or unwanted or just like a lot of hard feelings. And before I even get into these, I want to remind you that you are loved and beautiful and perfect as you are. You're the only you there'll ever be, and anybody would be lucky to have you. So never, ever, ever forget it, babe. Okay, first question I got is, why did you decide not to rush at MIZ? If you didn't know how all of this basically works, since I didn't get initiated at Ole Miss, I actually could have technically re-rushed or got another house eventually, especially when I transferred schools. Well, I could have done it at Ole Miss, but like I did actually consider it for a second when I transferred schools, just because everything was online and I was really worried about being able to make friends. And I won't even lie, I actually considered it. I had told myself I would give myself a semester, and if I didn't have friends, if I felt lonely, if I was just struggling to feel involved on campus, I was going to consider rushing at Mizzou. So that's a fun little thing I don't think I've ever shared online. But overall, I ended up meeting my people. I've gotten involved in things that I care about, and I feel like I'm really full-time wise. And so being in one, and also just like my values at this point, I don't think it aligns with me, but I definitely did consider it. Next question. If you would have went to Mizzou first, do you think you would have been in a sorority? This is another very interesting question. I could see, yes. I think if I originally went to Mizzou, I probably would have been. I don't think I'd still be in one. I think I would have probably dropped before my senior year. I could have seen myself doing it for like my freshman year and sophomore year. But I will just say, like, in the South, it is kind of an intense thing. There's like a lot of buzz around it, and it's just a lot. It's very expensive. It's very high. Something that's talked about a lot. I don't know. It's just like a little bit much for me. And I think at a school where like being in a sorority and rush isn't as big of a deal would actually be somewhere I'd want to be in one and more, which it's not as big of a deal at Mizzou. But again, I probably would have dropped by now anyways, so we vibe. Is there a difference between the Southern sororities and Midwest sororities? Go Tigers. Go Tigers. That's the school I currently go to. Mizzou. I can't 100% speak on it as someone who's been in one, but 100% as a viewer, yes, there's a big difference the way that sororities were held at Ole Miss versus Mizzou. Mizzou, it's much more chill vibes. It's not so insane. and at Ole Miss it was literally like such a big deal. What house you were in was such a big deal for some reason. Again, I did join Mizzou as an older student, so I could have like just like missed the wave where that was like a big thing that mattered, but I also know like smaller schools it's less bigger deal. I think besides the fact that like Bama and Ole Miss go kind of crazy for Rush, and like LSU, different things like that, I think in general every single school is going to be kind of different with the Greek life and how important it is and how much it's talked about and how hard it is to get houses and things like that. Somebody asked, can you say where you got your bid? I already said in this video, but I did get a bid from 80 Pie. I literally, if you go back and watch my Rush vlog, I literally like told you guys like basically every round what houses I got back. Your girl's pretty transparent about it. Why should one rush and why aren't you in one? I think some reasons to rush is I think it can help you feel involved with the campus. I think it can help you find friends. I think that it can definitely give you connections for post-college and getting jobs, which those are all very positive, important things. I'm not personally in one because I have found ways to get all of those like bonuses I just said on my own without being in one. Just not the right fit for me. I don't think that it was the vibes. I think a lot of those situations would just make me feel kind of like overwhelmed and anxious, and just it is a lot. I'm also really like, for me, I don't want someone telling me like everything to do, and like I don't know. I like the freedom of just being completely my own person and not under like any big organization. Okay, someone asks, did you regret dropping after? I can confidently say I never once regretted dropping, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have that same experience, but the reason that I don't regret it is, like I said, I got to do it for like a month. I got to see if it was for me. I got the test run, and also the thing is I met amazing girls in it that I stayed friends with after because they were really my friends. They weren't just my friends because I was in the sorority. So no, I didn't ever. Next question, were you happy with your house on bid day? Yes, I will say that was the house that I prepped. That is the house that I wanted. I had 2 girls in it that were super sweet that I sat next to like every single day for like the first month of school, and they were in it, and that was honestly a big reason I chose it because I knew both of them, was comfortable with them, and I was like, oh, girls like this, like I would love a house of girls like this. Sweetest people ever. They were in my Rush vlog, or one of them was in it. Literally so kind. And yeah, I wanted that house and I was very happy with it. Halfway through the week though, I only had a few options, so that's what I wanted from like midway in the week point. I will say like the very beginning of the week, I had no idea what I wanted. I remember the first day, I loved Cayo at, I'm not losing my thought right now. I loved Cayo at Ole Miss, and I was dropped the first day, and I remember literally thinking that day that that was the only house I was gonna get back, like for sure. Like I was like, oh, I vibed and clicked so well with those girls, and that was the one house that like cut me that I wanted the first day. So by the end of the week, yes, 80 Pie is what I wanted, but throughout the week, there was definitely houses I wanted that cut me. I remember I really liked, what was it? This is like not that long ago. I really liked, I think it was DG. I really liked DG. I definitely was cut from there very early on. In the wise words of Ellie Raylo, I don't remember if it was DG or tried out. I was definitely a crack slipper, is all I'm gonna say. I was 100% a crack slipper. Okay, someone asked, what was your prep experience like? So again, prep is that final round where it's more so you kind of picking what house you want, and it's very emotional. I also, looking back, I think that it kind of almost played mind games with me how emotional I was when choosing. Just because that week is so crazy. You're facing rejection in front of people like all the time. You're talking all day, you're exhausted. You've probably lost your voice. You just need sleep, and so you get to this exhausted point, and then the last day being prep is like the super emotional ceremony. I am not a crier, and I like bawled at the house that I prep, and that was like when I was like, yes, 100%, this is what I want to do. And like looking back, I think I was just really emotional and really tired, and it really wasn't that deep yet. Like I didn't know these girls that well yet to be like crying about this, but yeah, it was an interesting experience. It was really cool. You definitely felt closer to the girls in it after that round, but it's definitely like there's like members that are leaving that come up and sing sad songs, and people talk about how the story like changed their life. And the thing is I think some people it really does positively change their life, and that's why I recommend rushing if you have interest in it, because people have different experiences. Like I said, it wasn't for me, but I know from prep round there was people that found such a home and loving sweet place in a sorority, and that it made their college experience. And I definitely believe that and remember that from prep round. Okay, the last question I'm going to answer in this video is, did you have any bad experiences at a house? I would say the round where I realized I was a crack slipper, and I didn't know what a crack slipper was until I watched Eli Raylo's TikTok, but basically sororities are told like once you get to a certain round, if somebody is somehow a crack slipper, like they were not wanted, but somehow they're like you wound up on their schedule, they're back, yeah, you don't know how it happens, but they're supposed to like kind of act like not interested in talking to you and like they don't really know what's going on. They're supposed to kind of just be annoying, like they want you to want to drop the house on purpose, basically, is how her sorority did it, and like she has shared that on TikTok. I know I was a crack slipper at her house because I think it was philanthropy round. I don't remember if it was philanthropy or sisterhood round, but basically everyone was having these super deep talks, and the girl that was like paired with me that came to sit with me was like silent, super awkward. And when I asked her like what the philanthropy is, she literally looked at me and said, I don't really know. That would not happen. Like, these girls are literally like prepped so hard for Rush, and I always thought that was such an odd experience, and I just thought me and her didn't vibe. But looking back, the house definitely just wanted me like out of there, and I was a crack slipper, and I actually ended up on the invite card because that was super weird. It was literally like 40 minutes of almost silence of her being like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, what events do you like to do for fun? And she was like, I don't really even know what events we do. And I was like, this is crazy right now. This is so embarrassing for me. But guess what, girls? It's not embarrassing because you're gonna find your place. Whether it's in a sorority or not, you're gonna find your place. Alright, you guys, so that is all for today's video. If you have any more questions, you can go ahead and ask them down below. Maybe I'll go answer some over on my TikTok. I love to chat over there. Also, my Instagram story, I'm constantly doing Q&As, so you can always drop questions over there. I do them like 2 to 3 times a week. I have so much fun with it. But thank you so much for watching today's video. Always remember, you are so worthy, loved, beautiful. If you're struggling right now, better days are ahead. People are lucky to know you, and you're the only you there will ever be. Yes. I will see you, lovely sunflowers, somewhere else on the internet or in my next video.